Employers have a big dilemma when managing remote staff. How do you know your people are actually working? Well, in this video, I'm going to cover some of the strategies that we use to manage this challenge in a business that's been working remote for over 6 years with a team of over 60 employees all over the world. And today we're going to talk about how you can actually even know what's going on with your team. And, for me as a business owner, I've been in business a long time. There was always this deep fear in the back of my mind. Are my team actually working? Is my company actually productive? And it's not just because I'm a micromanager or I want, people to slave their way through their work with me. It's my responsibility to make sure that my business is productive and efficient and make sure that the business actually survives. And if we have team members that are not actually performing, well, then that's going to begin to introduce risk to the business. And so I'm going to share with you a couple of the strategies and a couple of the ways that we approach this challenge, having run a remote business for more than most. Now, over the last couple of years, as the pandemic hit, most people transitioned to some kind of flexible working in their businesses, whether that was you sending everyone home and going completely fully remote, or it may have been just introducing more flexible working. Now, at the time of recording this video, the pandemic is starting to kind of chill out quite a bit, and many people have returned to offices, but things have forever changed. The matrix has been unplugged for everyone, and many people don't want to go back to the old way of working. And so we're in this reality where we have the challenge of employees working from home, probably at least some of the time in every single business. And we have managers who have the challenge of managing productivity and managing workload. And how do we reconcile when you don't have someone in front of you, whether or not they're actually getting their work done? Now, most business owners immediately start thinking about, well, how can I monitor and how can I track this? Doing things like installing apps on their computer that track people's behavior. You can have, an app that will measure how many keystrokes per minute people are doing and whether or not people are actually clicking in different, areas of the screen, and they can even take screenshots of their work every couple of minutes and send it back to a central location. Personally, I'm not really a fan of those because to me, I think it creates a bit of a culture of fear. And I think it also creates a culture that you don't really trust your team to do their work. And for many people, they will be challenged by that, particularly if you're, working with a hybrid team and you have international team members in different countries. And, for some of those countries where you have a culture of people working more than one job, or there's a virtual assistant kind of industry where people are more likely to be taking more than one role at different businesses because they've got different freelancer gigs kind of going on. That's a pretty understandable, immediate solution. How can we just track things as much as possible? I would say personally, avoiding anything that's coming from a frame of control and instead trying to come from a frame of empowerment as much as possible is going to make the most sense for your business. And I know that's been successful for us running quite a large team remotely for many years. Now, it's not to say that we don't track anything. Something really important for us to track is hours worked. And we use an application for that. It's a time billing application. And at the moment, we happen to use an app called Clockify. And that runs as a little plugin inside Google Chrome, and we deploy that to everyone's account automatically via our Google Workspace administration panel. And from there, we ask our team members to log what they're doing in their different work projects on a specific project inside the time management app. Now, that's really useful because it's less about control and distrust and more about, hey, do you mind just letting us know what you got up to? And I would kind of put that akin to what a manager would usually do during the day. You'd probably set up some tasks for your team at the start of the day, and you'd check in during the day or maybe at the end of the day. Or maybe, if you're a bit more lenient with your team and they're a bit more in the groove of working with you, you might check in with them just a couple of times a week on the tasks that they're working on. Now, what I love about using time billing software for this is it's voluntary for the team to report what they're working on. But then as a leader or as a manager, you get the opportunity to actually review what work they've said that they've done, similar to a kind of timesheet. And that allows you to, analyze with your magical leadership skills whether or not you think that's actually a fair timesheet that's been submitted. Now, these are pretty much the norm in creative businesses, in architectural firms. If you're a law firm or an accounting firm, you're probably used to doing this kind of thing already. So you may already have a system like this in place. But the important thing here is the synthesis between the actual time data being billed and logged and the work being delegated. And what that means is you're not just looking for the number at the end of the week. What you're trying to work out is, okay, well, based on the amount of time billed to the different projects or the different project categories, does that seem like a fair amount of work that's actually been done for those team members working remotely? And that's where the art of good leadership and good management comes in for the seniors in your business, whether that's you or if you have other leaders as well, to work with your team in ensuring that you're on the same page. My next hot tip is to have clear KPIs for your team. Making sure that these are measurable, they're easy to understand, but also they're going to have the right kind of impact in your business. Now, we use a number of tools to collaborate with our team and ensure that we're in good communication when we're working remotely. So we use Asana for tasks. We obviously use Google Workspace for all of our communication and collaboration around scheduling, around holding meetings, around chit-chatting with each other. These are all ways that we keep technology tools in place to stay connected with our team. But we also use Google Data Studio, and we've built a business dashboard for all the KPIs in our business. Now, KPIs aren't necessarily something that you would track day to day, but in the cadence of your business, whether it's weekly or monthly reporting, you can use KPIs to track the performance of team members. And one KPI, if someone is in a time billing type role, might be the hours that they've billed towards their time billing. But another KPI for perhaps a salesperson might be the number of calls or interactions they've had with customers and probably their conversion rate on their deals or relationship conversions that they've been working on. Now, from that data, it's pretty easy to see if you have an outlier in the data as long as you have multiple team members working in that area of the business. And so having solid KPIs that the team need to report on regularly could give you the insight that you need without needing to focus on the command and conquer control frameworks and control strategies. Finally, the best way to have your team working diligently with each other is to actually have a culture of the right kind of work that you want. A culture of honesty, a culture of diligent work, a culture where you have built intrinsic motivation for your team members to actually have pride in their work and want to show up to work and want to do a really great job. Well, what that means is that you're more likely to not have to do any micromanaging of your team at all. For you as the business owner or business leader, you want to make sure that you've got each team member in the right seat of the bus for them to work to their strengths. And when that happens and you have a business that is led with mission and vision and values, and you have alignment of the right people and the right strategy and the right mission and purpose, well, you're going to find it's going to be much easier to keep everybody on the same page and not have to worry about whether or not people are actually working. Businesses that have teams that have strong bonds and culture are businesses that always perform better. Whether you're working in an office or remotely, it's going to work better if you've got a culture where the team want to do a great job and you all succeed together. If you're interested in learning more about motivating your employees, well, I just recorded a video on precisely that, what the top 4 motivators are for employees. And if you're new to this channel, please do your best to check around. We help businesses getting their systems, their people, and their technology organized so you can build a better business. And we've helped literally thousands of business owners all over the world get their tech in order. Now, if you haven't already, check out our growth roadmap, which takes you through the different stages of business and what tech you need to implement to make sure that your business is successful. If you haven't already yet, give us a thumbs up if you like the content. Drop a comment below. I'd love to know what you think of this. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.